So remember, these characters hold a special place in the hearts of children, and we need to show them a little respect, right? Okay.
I usually wear some fancy makeup when I make YouTube videos because I enjoy making them, and I want to look good while doing it, but this one, however, is not gonna be very fun to make at all. But I feel obligated to. You see, in October of 2020, I released a video called Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is a horror masterpiece, where I not only applauded said game, but also its lone developer, Scott Cawthon. His story of turning harsh criticism towards his earlier games into fuel for making new and better ones is still very inspiring to me personally, and I stand by what I said about him being a good example to look to when trying to grow as a creator. But something has changed since I made that video. And since it is my most popular video to date, by a long shot, I don't want people to watch it and think that I'm in any way endorsing what has been revealed about Scott Cawthon recently. So, let's get really disappointed together, shall we? On June 10th, 2021, Twitter user IamGriffonier shared a list of politicians that Scott Cawthon had donated money to between September 2015 and August 2020. The list came from OpenSecrets.org, which downloads data from the Federal Election Commission. Let's take a closer look at some of the names on that list. And for the sake of fairness, we'll primarily look at things they said and did around the time of Scott's donations. After all, it's hard to judge someone based on things you don't know about or that hasn't even happened yet. The first one is Ben Carson, one of the Republican candidates who ran in the 2016 US presidential race. Apart from claiming plain ludicrous things like many Americans are stupid and Obamacare is the worst thing that's happened to the United States since slavery, Carson has quite an extensive history of saying nasty stuff about LGBTQIA people in particular. In his 2012 book, America the Beautiful, he wrote that marriage equality is a slippery slope with a disastrous ending, as witnessed in the dramatic fall of the Roman Empire. Damn, I guess the gays are just that powerful. Who am I kidding? I already knew that. In March 2015, Carson said that being gay is a choice, which is proven by the fact that straight people who go to prison come out as gay. He apologized for the statement not long after, but I don't know. It rings kinda hollow to me when just hours earlier he said that it was absolutely the case. In November of the same year, he said that transgender people should have their own public bathrooms because, quote, it's not fair for them to make everybody else uncomfortable. Carson is so synonymous with bad takes about the LGBTQIA community that the president of the Human Rights Campaign, Chad Griffin, issued the following statement.
Ben Carson can't go a week without invoking reckless and irresponsible stereotypes about the LGBT community, and his suggestion that transgender people be required to use segregated bathrooms echoes an ugly past our country should never revisit.
This is someone that Scott Cawthon willingly chose to donate money to. We can also find Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on the list, who Scott donated to in August 2020. McConnell not only helped with blocking important witnesses in Donald Trump's impeachment trial, his handling of the COVID-19 crisis has been straight up abysmal. One of his standout acts of pure malice is that he has continuously stood in the way of bills that would help US citizens in desperate need of stimulus checks. He actually seems to care more about companies gaining immunity against whatever legal action their employees might take as a result of getting infected with COVID at work, which, you know, wouldn't be a problem if they could work from home, or maybe had some other incentive not to go out in public more than they have to, like a stimulus check. But Mitch doesn't want people to stay home, because to him, the American economy is seemingly way more important than the lives of the people who generate its growth. Again, this is someone that Scott Cawthon chose to donate money to. Additionally, he donated money to Devin Nunes, who was the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, also in August 2020. In late 2019, he got implicated in the Ukraine scandal that resulted in Donald Trump's impeachment trial. Also, I don't think I'd ever give money to someone if I knew that money could potentially be used to, for example, sue a bunch of parody accounts on Twitter for $25 million.
The enemies of the state must be silenced.
Now, Scott didn't just donate money to Republicans. In 2015, he donated money to Indiana governor candidate John Gregg and his running mate Christina Hale, both Democrats. Another Democrat he donated money to was Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for the Democratic candidacy in the 2020 presidential race. At first glance, this seems odd. Gabbard endorsed Bernie Sanders back in 2016. She was kind of popular among actual leftists. Why would someone with such seemingly left-leaning political views interest someone like Scott, who, by his previous donations, seemed to be leaning heavily to the political right? A video by the lovely YouTube channel Renegade Cut might have the answer. Not only do Gabbard herself identify as a centrist, apparently Steve Bannon, who worked as the chief strategist and senior counselor to the president during 8 months of Trump's presidency, loved Gabbard. Here's a video from February 2020 where he straight up says that he would vote for her.
She represents America First national security policy. She's very populist on her economics. She's an American nationalist when it comes to the way she puts the country first in international affairs, and she may be even more of a little bit isolationist, which is to the kind of really hardcore of the Trump side.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds like she's straight up conservative, doesn't it? It's also worth noting that, according to Renegade Cut, Gabbard was the only Democrat who didn't vote either yay or nay during Trump's impeachment trial. I know what some of you might be thinking. No politician is perfect. Scott might have just picked the ones that he thought were the least bad. And, I mean, no one forced him to donate anything to any politician, but yeah, that might be true. But when one of the people that Scott donated money to was President Donald Trump himself, I don't think that he could have looked very hard for alternatives. Do you need a refresher of all the fucking things he said and done?
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
I want to build a wall.
Talking about Gitmo, right? Guantanamo Bay. Which, by the way, we are keeping open. And we're going to load it up with some bad dudes, believe me. We're going to load it up. Would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I'd approve it. You bet your ass. I want surveillance of certain mosques, okay? If that's okay. ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS. Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
My name is Scott Cawthon, and I approve this message. On June 12th, 2 days after I Am Griffinier's Twitter thread was posted, Scott Cawthon logged on to Reddit to comment, sadly proving that the news were neither fake or that they actually concerned some other guy who happened to have the same name and occupation. Here's what the very real Scott Cawthon had to say for himself.
I exercise my right and my duty as an American citizen to vote for and support the candidates who I felt could best run the country for everyone. And that's something that I won't apologize for. Even if there were candidates who had better things to say to the LGBT community directly and bigger promises to make, I believe that their stances on other issues would have ended up doing much greater harm to those communities than good. All of this explanation, I fear, is wasted as people don't want to discuss with one another anymore. They want endless apologies and submission. People who are expecting this from me will get neither. I'm a Republican. I'm a Christian. I'm pro-life. I believe in God. I also believe in equality and in science and in common sense. Despite what some may say, all of those things can go together. That's not an apology or a promise to change. It's the way it's always been. If I get canceled, then I get canceled.
These are just some parts of the post that I wanted to put some extra focus on. If you want to read the whole thing, there's a link in the description. Reading this is honestly a little heartbreaking. It's been clear for many years that Scott genuinely tries to be a nice person. Frankly, I don't think I've seen any developer who has been so kind and supportive towards his fans. But giving money to a literal fascist like Donald Trump, to a political party that time and time again has proven to be aggressively against the LGBTQIA community that Scott claims to support, is such a counteractive use of that kindness. It hurts that he supported those politicians. But it hurts even more that he did it out of a sense of sympathy for marginalized groups. While publicly contemplating on Twitter if I should remove my previous video about Scott, in the light of these news, I was confronted by someone who pointed out that Scott has actually donated way more money to various charities, as if that would outweigh the harm that he has done. I don't want anyone to harass this commenter, so I will keep them anonymous. While I don't agree with that logic at all, I was intrigued enough to check out a list of which I assume are only some of the instances where Scott has donated to charity. While it's true that he has donated way more to these charities combined than he has donated to the GOP, something became immediately apparent. The donations, while obviously very generous, seemed to mostly have been given to organizations like the World Wildlife Fund and St. Jude, as in wildlife preservation and medical research. Donating money to either of these causes doesn't negate the harm Scott's support of the GOP will do to trans kids, or the unemployed, or those who are sick and dying of COVID-19. But even if Scott had donated money specifically to charities that help trans kids, for example, he would still have supported politicians that make those charities necessary in the first place. He wouldn't be fixing a problem. He would simply put a band-aid on a wound he'd be knowingly complicit in causing. Charities are good. It's good that they exist. But they shouldn't have to exist, because donating to charities is not a sustainable solution to the world's problems, especially if you fail to see that you're a part of the problem. So what now? Is it not okay to like or buy Five Nights at Freddy's games anymore? Is Scott Cawthon cancelled? There is this notion that there can be no ethical consumption under capitalism, because capitalism is inherently unethical. No matter if you buy a video game from a mostly independent developer like Scott Cawthon, or a multi-million-dollar company like Activision, some or all that money you spend will inevitably end up in the hands of people you might not want to support. Whether it's rich and overpaid executives, or developers with a history of abusing their coworkers. It's not your responsibility as a consumer to change the unethical nature of the video game industry, though. You can try and vote with your dollar as much as you like, but it won't change the system. And in this particular case, it probably won't change Scott's political views either. There is a distinct difference though. Scott is just one person. He developed the Five Nights at Freddy's games mostly on his own. So when you buy one of those games, you know exactly who's standing behind the counter. It's not a system or a company that needs to change. It's the person. And he clearly doesn't want to. That's fine. I mean, it's not, it's actually horrible. But he has the right to stand his ground and keep on donating money to animate garbage masquerading as lawmakers if he wants to. What you do with that, and how you let it influence your future video game purchases, is of course entirely up to you. Personally, I don't think I will be buying another Scott Cawthon game anytime soon. I still love the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. My happy memories with these games will hopefully always outweigh the disappointment I'm feeling at the time of recording. I get that some people want to distance themselves as much as possible from both Scott and his games after all this, and I think that's completely justified. However, some of you who are watching this might think that this whole thing is nothing but a huge exaggeration. That none of this is an actual problem and that we should all just #stand with Scott. If you're one of those people, I get it. As I said before, the way Scott has treated his community of fans over the years is nothing but commendable. And it might feel threatening when a lot of people suddenly start to question something you've tied a big chunk of your identity to. It's perfectly reasonable to get defensive. But this is not an attack. Not on you or Scott Cawthon. You're still allowed to like and play Scott's video games, and no one is going to force Scott to stop making them. I'd actually be surprised if these news had any major ramifications on his career at all. All I'm suggesting is that you should maybe reconsider who it is that actually needs some support right now. Trans people. It's trans people. In conclusion, you're not gonna be cancelled, Scott. By me or anyone else. But just like you chose to give money to people you respect, because you felt that was the right thing to do, some people might not want to give you money because of the respect you, currently, aren't showing them. I eventually decided not to remove my Five Nights at Freddy's 4 video from my channel, because I still feel that there are valuable things to learn both from the game and Scott's history of handling criticism. But if there's anything that you should not learn from Scott Cawthon, it's how to spend your money. That's where the video was originally supposed to end. But then another thing happened. On June 17th, 7 days after I Am Gryffindor posted their Twitter thread, and 5 days after Scott posted his statement on Reddit, Scott Cawthon announced his retirement on his website. He lists a couple of reasons for this, one being that he misses making games just for fun, for his kids. While that's understandable, the timing of this announcement is no coincidence, especially considering that Scott puts a little extra focus on the LGBTQIA community, who were also the focus of his Reddit statement when thanking his fans. Personally, I don't think this retirement is going to last. It feels slightly impulsive, and Scott isn't exactly known for having restraint when it comes to teasing and releasing games. But I sincerely hope that he takes all the time off that he needs. Scott has learned from his mistakes before, and while I don't think that he's going to change his political stance in any major ways, maybe he'll eventually learn something positive from this as well, and grow as a result. Or he could come back and write an 8-page manifesto declaring that trans activism is bad actually, but who would be stupid enough to do something like that? Well shit, I was going to buy that new Scott Cawthon video game Five Nights at Freddy's: Security Breach, but now I don't wanna. What else can I do with my money? Don't you worry, dear viewer. I've put a link in the description where you can buy a ton of different horror games that aren't just indie, but LGBTQIA inclusive as well. You can also support this non-binary YouTuber right here by donating a couple of bucks a month on Patreon. You get early access to all my future videos, and you can join us on Discord for our semi-regular movie nights. Speaking of patrons, I want to give a special thanks to Nichtsvert, Rocky Dennis, Tobias Mattsson, Håvard Krugerud, Professor Flowers, Vinders, Philippe Kirschner, Oddshrew, Mackenzie Pollock, Eli Berg-Moss, Rob Robbins, and Seth Sard. I also want to thank Hades Vadim and EVA Online for providing their voices to this video. And a huge thanks to Alicia and Kiki from Transparency for helping me with the script. You'll find all of their links in the description. Most importantly though, I want to thank you for watching the video.